You wake up tired. You get through the day tired. And even on days when you did not do anything extreme, you still feel strangely depleted. Not sleepy, exactly. Just drained. Like your mind has been running all day, even when your body has not done much. And that is the confusing part. Because from the outside, your day may not even look that hard. A few messages. A few tasks. A bit of scrolling. Some work. Some conversations. A few things left unfinished. Nothing dramatic. So why do you feel like your brain has been carrying bricks? Most people assume this means they need more sleep, more discipline, or more motivation. Sometimes that is true. But a lot of the time, the hidden reason is simpler. Your brain is not only getting tired from what you do, it is getting tired from what it keeps holding open. That is the pattern. The real issue is background cognitive load. In simple terms, your mind is carrying too many open tabs at once. Unfinished tasks, unmade decisions, half-processed emotions, notifications, things you need to remember later, things you should deal with soon, things you do not want to forget. Even when you are not actively doing those things, part of your attention is still holding them in place. And that costs energy. Think of it like a phone battery. Sometimes the battery drains fast, not because you are using the phone heavily in front of you, but because too many apps are running in the background. The screen looks calm, but the system is still working. That is what happens to a lot of people mentally. You look like you are resting, but your mind is still processing, tracking, anticipating, and switching. So by the end of the day, you do not just feel tired. You feel used up. Here is what this looks like in real life. Imagine someone who sits down for 10 quiet minutes. No major task, no urgent demand. But instead of feeling calm, their mind starts pulling up everything still unfinished. That message they have not replied to. That conversation they keep replaying. That form they need to submit. That small decision they keep postponing. That one thing they should probably deal with this week. Nothing huge by itself, but together it creates a constant background hum. And that hum is exhausting. Not because each thought is huge, because the brain never gets to fully set them down. There are 3 common ways this happens. The first is open loops. Your brain hates unfinished business. If something feels unresolved, your mind keeps tagging it as important. That is useful when you genuinely need to remember something. But most modern lives are full of dozens of unresolved things at once. Small ones, medium ones, emotional ones. And your brain does not always separate them well. A half-written email can sit next to a family issue and a payment reminder and a future worry in the same mental queue. That means even when you are technically off, part of your mind is still on call. That is why you can feel mentally heavy before the day has even really started. Not because the work is hard yet, because your system is already carrying unfinished weight. The second pattern is constant switching. A lot of people do not realize how tiring mental switching is. You answer one message, then check another tab, then return to work, then think about dinner, then remember something from yesterday, then respond to a notification, then try to focus again. None of these moments feels dramatic. That is why they are easy to underestimate. But every switch asks your brain to reorient, and reorientation is expensive. It is like driving through a city with a traffic light every 100 meters. You are moving, technically, but the stopping and starting wears you out more than a clean stretch of road. This is why some people feel exhausted after a day that looked light on paper. They did not do one hard thing for 8 hours. They did 50 small shifts without real continuity. The third pattern is fake recovery. This one catches a lot of people. You think you are taking breaks, but your breaks are still mentally stimulating. You switch from work to scrolling, from effort to videos, from one stream of input to another. It feels easier in the moment, so you assume it is rest. But relief is not always recovery. Your nervous system may feel occupied, entertained, or numbed, but not restored. Real recovery usually has less input, not just different input. Silence, walking, stillness, looking out a window. A slow meal without multitasking. 10 minutes where nothing is asking for your attention. That kind of space is rare now. And because it is rare, many people are under-rested mentally even when they technically stopped working hours ago. But here is the uncomfortable part. Sometimes the reason you stay mentally overloaded is not just modern life. Sometimes it is also avoidance. Because when everything is noisy, you do not have to fully hear yourself. When your brain is full, you do not have to sit with certain feelings. The unresolved sadness, the uncertainty, the loneliness, the bigger question you have been avoiding. So sometimes people do not just tolerate mental clutter. They unconsciously maintain it. Because a crowded mind can protect you from a quiet truth. That does not make you weak. It makes you human. But it does mean the solution is not only better productivity. It is also a more honest relationship with silence. So how do you actually reduce this hidden drain? First, close one loop every day. Not 10, one. Pick one thing your mind keeps dragging around and finish it. Decide it, schedule it, or write it down somewhere trusted. Send the message. Choose the date. Pay the bill. Add it to tomorrow's plan. Write the thought in a notebook instead of rehearsing it all evening. Why this works. Your brain relaxes when it knows something is either completed or safely contained. What this looks like today. Ask yourself, what is one unresolved thing costing me more energy than it should? Then deal with only that. Second, reduce unnecessary switching. Protect at least one stretch of your day from constant reorientation. That might be 20 minutes. It does not need to be heroic. One task, one tab, one conversation, one intention. Why this works. Mental energy is not only spent on effort, it is spent on reloading. What this looks like today. Choose one short block where you do not check messages, do not switch tabs, and do not mix 5 small tasks together. Let your mind stay in one lane for a while. Third, make your breaks quieter. Not empty in a dramatic, monk-like way, just quieter than what your brain is used to. A walk without your phone. 5 minutes sitting outside. Tea without content playing. A short pause where you are not consuming anything. Why this works. Your mind cannot recover properly if every break is another layer of stimulation. What this looks like today. Replace one screen break with one low input break, and notice how different your body feels after it. And there is one more shift that matters. Stop measuring exhaustion only by visible output. Some of the most draining days are not the days when you did the most. They are the days when your attention got pulled in too many directions and never fully came home. That is why you can feel exhausted after a day of nothing. It was not nothing. It was internal fragmentation. You do not need to become a completely different person overnight. You do not need a perfect routine or a silent mind. But you do need to respect the fact that attention is energy. And whatever keeps pulling on your attention keeps draining you, even if the world never sees it. So if you have been calling yourself lazy, unmotivated, or weak because you feel tired all the time, pause there. You may not be lazy. You may be mentally overextended in ways that are easy to miss and hard to name. And once you name them, you can start changing them. Because the goal is not to do less for the sake of doing less. The goal is to stop leaking energy into 100 invisible places. If this explains something you have been feeling for a long time, the next video should be about why your mind cannot fully switch off even when your day is over, because that is often the next layer of this same pattern.